Hi, ITA seniors. It's Liliana, and I'm here to talk to you about my transition from high school to college and hopefully give you some advice. My experience transitioning from high school to college was pretty normal. I'm sure you all are familiar with the program SCE, the 6 weeks residential experience that was previously held in person. It was an overnight camp, but I'm sure for you all it will be virtual, which I'm so sorry about because it's a great experience. But this was really my jump start into college. It was the summer right before our freshman year. We got to live in the dorms. We got to take real college classes. We got to learn from our counselors who at the time were current UW students. And it was also the time that we had our SOAR session, which is like the freshman orientation, and it's where you sign up for classes in the fall. And one piece of advice that I have for you is before your SOAR session, before you sign up for classes, it will be worth it for you to check out the UW website to look at the different colleges, the different departments, and course list descriptions that are available to you. This will be helpful so you can get a sense of, what kinds of classes are even offered at UW-Madison, what you might be interested in, and come up with a list of questions. So when you do meet with your SOAR advisors, you can kind of tell them what you're interested in, because otherwise they're going to tell you, oh, just take the classes that seem interesting to you. And for me, at least, this wasn't helpful because, going into college, I didn't even know what kinds of classes were offered. And I was so used to, in high school, they give you a sheet that's basically like, if you're on the regular track, take these classes. If you're an honor student, get ready to take this class and then this class. And in college, there's no set path or like a set of rules that you need to follow. It's more like you make your own path. So definitely do your research beforehand and come prepared with questions. And then the next piece of advice I have for you is related to something that I wish I didn't do during college, and that is not to have so many expectations for yourself to the point where that they're unrealistic and they're not manageable for you. For example, my freshman year, I knew I wanted to live in the dorms and get that experience. I knew that I wanted to join like 5 different clubs. I wanted to get an on-campus job, all while taking like a course load of 15 credits. And that was just too much for me. And I have this idea in my head about what my college experience was supposed to be like. And let me tell you, it never goes the way that you think it does or think it will go. So kind of just going into it with a more open mind and knowing that this will be an individualized learning process for you. You have at least 4 years to figure out, what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, and there's no rush. You have 4 years, so enjoy it. And the next question you all had for me is, what is something you wish you knew before starting college/moving out? And I would say that I wish I knew that it is okay to struggle in college. I know many of you are super smart and you're probably used to being the smart kids at your high school, but college is a whole different ballpark. It's a whole different level of academic rigor and expectations. Your teachers won't necessarily be like in high school where they can guide you through certain things when you forget and give you reminders. Like in college, it's really on you to be your best advocate, to stand up for yourself. And like sometimes that can be really intimidating and seem like a really big responsibility. And I feel like everybody, you'll understand what I mean when you get here, but everybody has that at least one semester where things are honestly just kind of terrible. your course load is way too much, you're taking classes that you don't know, like if you're really interested in them, your professors are not like the best, and we all encounter rough patches, and we all have at least one semester that just, we failed a test, we did really poorly in this class, something just happens, and it's not the experience that you want it to be. And it's okay for things to be really hard. It's okay to question yourself and not know necessarily if you're doing the right thing or if you're on the right path. But just know that there are people here to support you. There's the people office. There are your people advisors. Once you declare a major, you'll have your major advisors to turn to. And there are also a multitude of different clubs and organizations and social networks that you can rely on for some support. And going along with that, my other piece of advice would be to get in touch with your professors. Know the people who are your TAs. Have conversations with them. Because later on in your college career, you're going to want to study abroad. You're going to want to apply for a job. And you're going to need someone as a reference. You're going to need someone to write you a letter. And these people are going to have to know you. They're going to have to remember a conversation that they had with you or a project that you worked on that they can talk about. And so go to office hours. Make these connections now because they will really matter in the years to come. And I'm saying that from personal experience. The people who are teaching you now, who are your professors now, they will be the same people who go to bat for you later on. When you're applying for that job or for that study abroad trip or whatever it may be. And then lastly, was I scared during the transition and how did I deal with it? Yes, I was scared. I think everybody's a little bit scared or at least a little bit nervous to some degree. I mean, obviously, getting into college is a really big deal, so we're also really excited. But I think that you all are really lucky to be in a program like ITA where there are people who are like you. You've made really good friendships, and you'll definitely rely on those friendships when you get to college because UW-Madison is a PWI or a predominantly white institution. So sometimes, like, for example, I've been in classes where there's no one else who looks like me, or I'm in a discussion group where the people in my group kind of expect that I'll give certain answers based on who they perceive I am. And sometimes it can be a real downer, and it makes you question, am I here doing the right thing? Is it worth it? Is this for me? And let me tell you, it absolutely is worth it. It absolutely is for you. You are here for a reason. And for many of us, getting into college and us being here is something that is bigger than ourselves. For a lot of us, going to college is something that we're able to do, and it's something that we're doing for our families and for our communities. And I would say that that's really powerful, and don't ever lose sight of, the things that motivate you and the reasons why you're here in the first place. And with that, ITA seniors, I will say I wish you the best of luck, and feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. I would love to talk to you, even individually, if you're interested. All right, bye.
Hi, seniors. It's Hinoska. I'm gonna talk about a little bit about my campus life experience and living on my own and then getting involved on campus. So, first question, should you stay on campus at the beginning, middle, end, or throughout all 4 years of my undergrad? So I think that's a very personal decision and it really depends on situation. So in my case, I lived at home my entire undergrad. My parents' house is only about 15 minutes from campus, so In terms of like finances, it just made sense to live at home. I was able to save a lot of money and invest in other things like a car or have extra money to pay for parking on campus. I think it's up to your own situation. I was lucky enough that my parents were okay with me staying home and were able to support me while I was in college in terms of like giving me a roof and helping like with food. Um, and I mean, I had a pretty good college experience living at home. I don't think I missed out on anything. I think a lot of people kind of warned me on missing out on things throughout my college experience. But I think I had a really good experience. I loved it. I think as long as you set up your own expectations and boundaries with your families, if you are living at home, I think that makes a world of a difference. And if it works for you, it works. I mean, I loved it. I recommend it if you have a good support at home. And if you think you're going to be able to get that college experience living at home, I highly recommend it. Worked for me. So, what kind of activities or clubs did you join in your first year of college? I did a lot of things. I did an education club. I did Greek life. I had people events to attend. I think I joined another club, but I can't really remember. I would say the biggest part was definitely like being in a sorority. I chose professional Greek life, so it wasn't so much about like social events. Our criteria was more on like your academics and what you wanted to do after you graduated. So I was in an education sorority, and that helped me feel connected to campus, and it also helped me feel connected kind of to a network of people that were trying to do the same thing I was doing. So I was able to do book fundraising and professional talks, and it really helped me. I had a reason to be on campus every Sunday for a chapter. It just gave me a group of people and a lot of connections within the School of Ed, so it felt really good for me. I did all of the sporting events. I highly recommend it if they come back, which hopefully they will. I had season tickets to football all 4 years of my undergrad. I absolutely loved it. That allowed me to feel very much connected to campus. I would go down and I would do like the tailgating at Union South, which is where they bring out the marching band. I would go to the game with my friends. We would go to basketball games. We would also go to hockey games. I definitely loved all of that, or any other kind of like random event night that they would do from other clubs. I would go. I just wanted to like do things on campus, and definitely take advantage of Welcome Week, where they're giving out all of the free food all the time. There's like free food on Bascom and on Library Mall. I went to all of those. Anytime they said there was free food, I was there. What is something you highly recommend new college students try, specifically campus life? I would say just try to get involved, and it's an adjustment. It was a big adjustment for me. I mean, I went to a Madison high school, so I went to a pretty big high school, but college is a whole different world, you know? I felt like I was exposed to things that I hadn't before. It was challenging at times because if you end up at UW-Madison, you will be going to a predominantly white university. which was a big wake-up call for myself, and it was a big adjustment, and it took me time to find myself and understand that I deserved to be there, that I was as smart and knowledgeable as everybody else that was there. So I recommend that you get involved. I think getting involved, using the people office, going back to ITA, whether it is just to say hello, just find your network. You need a support group, and I think once you find that, that is what makes the difference for you. So I recommend you get yourself out there and you try all of the clubs. Even if you don't end up sticking around for them, just give it a try. There's clubs for everything. I recommend you go to the Red Gym and study, or even just go to the libraries. Like that is one thing that made me feel connected to campus, even though I wasn't living on campus, was that I made a point to go to the SAC and study, or go to the libraries and study, or when the people office tends to host during final weeks events like study sessions, where you stay till pretty late in the office and you study, and they have food and coffee, and I did all of those. I was at the people office studying a lot my first year. I was always at the library. I was at the SAC. I found new places to study. I studied on my own. I studied with other people. I went to office hours. I did a lot of things to feel connected, but that was also a little bit out of my comfort zone. And I think that's what you should try, is get out of your comfort zone a little bit with clubs, with activities, with finding your network, and enjoy the activities of being in college, the sporting events and the clubs and the free events, and just take it all in, because I know it's cliche, but it is the best time of your life if you create that community and if you create that kind of support system. And this leads into the next question, which is, how would you describe the community atmosphere? At UW, again, it's a predominantly white university, so at first it was hard for me personally. I had instances where I felt like I wasn't welcomed necessarily or accepted, or people were doubting if I should be there because of the color of my skin. And that was a little hard, but that is not how it always is. You will find really good people. You will find really good professors. You will find people who are going to support you through your experience, but you have to seek them out. I found a professor who ended up being my mentor throughout college. I didn't find her my first year. I found her during my sophomore year. She was Latinx, so that definitely helped me in feeling like I had a community, because I could relate to her. She could understand me. It is a good community as long as you surround yourself with the right people and know that you deserve to be there. No matter if somebody in a class says you don't belong there, or you feel a little judged by other students, know that you belong there. Know that you have a support system rooting for you, and just take it in. And also just take in campus. Like Madison downtown can be really good as a whole community. You can find different places to be at. Last question is, how long did it take you to get used to college life? And I'm going to say, honestly, I think my 4 years. And that is because I think every year I learned something new. I think my big adjustment came from my first semester. My first semester of college, I took a class that was too much for me. And it was hard for me to admit that. And I think I was fresh out of high school. I didn't really know how to study. I didn't know how to manage my time. I didn't know how to like take it all in. So I think my first semester was my big adjustment period in knowing my limits, in knowing how to study, knowing how much I could take on each semester. But I think as my semesters went on, I took a lot of different classes and a lot of different credit units. So some semesters I took your max, which is 18 credits, which was insane. So I think that was an adjustment in and out of itself. So I think I learned new things to get adjusted to and new things about college life every semester. But I would say your first semester is kind of like that. You really get used to it. And that for me was what it was. My first semester was how I got used to college life, was how I found my support system, how I found the places that worked for me in terms of studying, found techniques that worked for me. I found kind of what I wanted to do. One thing that was really helpful in getting used to the college life was I had a FIG my freshman semester, my first semester, where you would take classes with the same group of like 15 people. Even if they are big 300 person lectures, you will still see the same 15 faces. That was huge for me because I could compare with other people, like what was working for them in getting adjusted to college and kind of like take little notes. But it's a learning experience. I would say my 4.5 years of college were a learning experience, and I love them. And I had successes and I had failures. And I wasn't really used to failing. Like I was used to like getting all A's in high school, and in college, in my first semester was when I got my first D in a class. So it is the learning. It's okay to fail. We don't have to be perfect at everything. College is about that. It's just learning. So for me, it was my first semester. I learned a lot, learned about myself, how I study, how I learn, what I wanted to do with my life. But it's different for everyone. Just trust yourself. You can do it. You got yourself there. You are capable. You are smart. You got this. And just know that we will always be here to support you.
Hi everyone, this is Oscar. I hope you're all doing great. So Marsha contacted me. She said that you guys have some questions about freshman year in college and just all of that. So I hope I can help. Let's see. Uh, what are some things that freshmen in college should avoid? Let's see. To start that one off, I'm gonna have to go with avoid being complacent. And by that, I just mean like personally when I first got to college, like I know like that was my goal for the longest time, like just like getting there. So, I feel like I got a little complacent, like I was like, "Oh, I'm here, like don't have to worry about like am I going to get into college because I'm already in." So, my advice would be like stay hungry, remember why you're here. This doesn't always have to be like you have to get perfect grades or anything like that, but like try your hardest, like try and like make the most out of it because you're here to learn. Number two, how was your freshman experience like? So my freshman experience was pretty fun, I would say. It's pretty interesting. It's just a lot of things you're balancing, like you know transitioning into adulthood. You're meeting a lot of new people, having a lot of new experiences. So I mean, I enjoyed it. Maybe one of my favorite years of college. And then number three, should I choose a roommate my first year or go random? Let's see. So here I would say that the goal is to find someone who you can live with. So, like sometimes I've heard that like friends don't necessarily make the best roommates because like if you guys get in like arguments about like doing the dishes or stuff like that, like things can go south, I guess. So just find someone who you're like okay sharing a living space with. And maybe that's more advice for like once you move out of the dorms. But yeah, like just find someone who you can like enjoy just like spending a lot of time with because they're gonna be your roommate. Let's see. What advice do you give me to have a good and successful freshman year? Um, Number one, most important thing, you have to read the syllabus. It's literally like a study guide. It's everything that you need to know about a class. What readings, what homework. Like, unlike in high school when I went, like teachers would write down like the homework on the board that you have to do and stuff like that. But that's not the case anymore. Like, you'll show up to class like me and be like, oh, there was a reading. Like, yeah, so don't do that. Make sure to read your syllabus and be on top of things because that's kind of like the guideline of what the whole class is going to be. I would also say get a tutor, just because like even if you don't feel like you necessarily need one, like you're trying to like do great things here, so like get a tutor. They'll probably help you study in new and different ways and stuff like that because it is a lot different from high school. Most of the work is like out of class, and there's like new techniques and new like stuff like that that you have to learn about like studying to be successful. Yeah, so that's that. Question 5. Did anything surprise you when you first became a student? Yeah, I would say it's a culture shock mostly, like more than anything. Just because like I know everybody in ITA, like we all kind of come from a similar experience, just like growing up in Madison, being usually like people of color or stuff like that, like just. And then that's like very different from once you get to UW where it's not as diverse. And I had heard that throughout my whole high school experience, but it's actually different once you like live there and like interact with these people on a daily basis. And yeah, so be prepared for that. For that, I would recommend joining like orgs that are like a part of like multicultural orgs. So like whether that's like LSU, the Latino Student Union, or like many other orgs that are kind of like geared towards building that sense of community for people of color and just people from diverse backgrounds. um and that was all the questions. So I hope you guys have a excellent start to your freshman year and just enjoy your time there.